We talking about sports, get ball.
What it do, baby? Yeah.
Welcome in to a brand new episode of the number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee. I'm your host, Premal Bhatt, and I am joined once again by my cousin, my big bro, Roshan. Rosh, thanks for joining me again.
Yes, sir. We back.
This is setting up to be real spicy today. You and I were texting back and forth, and we had to get back on here. So without further ado, well, before we get things super spicy, a quick word from our sponsor. This episode of the Prem Brulee podcast is brought to you by Urban Exterior Co. For all your roofing, siding, and gutter needs, please visit urbanexteriorco.com. That's URBANEXTERIORCO.com. The number one roofing, siding, and gutter company for the number one podcast in your headphones. You absolutely love to hear it.
Sir.
All right, let's get right into it. You know, we like to start off each episode, yeah, fam, or nah. I'm going to read off a couple headlines. So, obviously, the NBA play... Actually, you know what? I don't know if I even ran this by you. Let's just say fuck it to yeah, fam, or not, and let's just get right into you played yourself. You game, bro?
Oh, let's do it, baby. The funny thing is, like a little...
Hit those hip-hop horns.
I think that's a major laser soundbite now at this point.
Yeah, let's fucking get it. Hit that intro, baby.
I'm petty as hell.
And
I'm super petty.
here we
Petty Le Pew.
go.
All right, Rush, you ready for this?
Yeah, I love that I texted you the other day, and I was literally like, there's so many you played yourselves to add. And I literally listed them all off, and then you mentioned me being on the podcast, and then you just spring it up on me right now in real time that we're going to skip yeah, fam, or not. I was like, I love it.
Yeah, so technically you motivated this whole thing, and I didn't want to put it in our notes section because I figured, you know what, let's keep people on their toes, including
myself.
my co-host
Yeah,
for today.
I love it.
All right, well, let's get going on these because the people get what they want, and that's extra spicy, and that's what we're going to
Already, baby.
First up, you played yourself goes to the NCAA. So the Supreme Court voted unanimously against the NCAA regarding compensation of student athletes. The Supreme Court of the United States affirmed a ruling that provides for an incremental increase in how college athletes can be compensated and also opens the door for future legal challenges that could deal a much more significant blow to the NCAA's current business model, which is not really a business model at all. It is, I don't know what you equate it to, probably like the equivalent of like indentured servitude.
Pretty much, yeah.
Not to use it like in a historical standpoint, but I mean by definition it kind of is.
Sure.
Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote the court's opinion, which upheld a district court judge's decision that the NCAA was violating antitrust law by placing limits on education-related benefits that schools can provide to athletes. The more I was researching, it's kind of like study abroad, all that stuff. The NCAA was using their amateur athlete rules to like keep student athletes from actually getting real world experiences, which is not surprising at all knowing what we know about the NCAA. But anyway, this decision allows schools to provide their athletes with unlimited compensation as long as it is some way connected to their education. So while this decision's unanimous, it's not quite the traction that the big decision everybody's waiting on, because it's not like your name, image, and likeness. It's a first step in that path, at least. So amazing. We usually have Supreme Court that has differing opinions. That was a 9-0 vote, a slam dunk on the NCAA, and hopefully just the beginning of them realizing that whatever they call their model is not appropriate,
Right.
to say the least. But anyway, not much to say about that, but I did want to, any chance we can yam on NCAA, we're all for it. And I know you number one podcast listeners are for it too. Everybody knows a student athlete or someone that's been impacted by this. Let the people actually get what they're worth. Okay, next up, over to baseball. You played yourself. We had to add it because it officially starts today. MLB pitchers using spider tack and other sticky substances. The crackdown has officially begun. Pitchers will begin being inspected by umpires, and if they are found to have an illegal substance, on baseballs or illegally doctor them while they're pitching, a player will be immediately ejected and suspended 10 days. I personally cannot wait to see this unfold, and I'm assuming everyone that's been on their high horses will keep that same fucking energy. I'm looking directly at you Trevor Bauer stans. You were so quick to love on him as he was a smartass, but he has been directly impacted by this spider tax substance. So I'm very much looking forward to you fucking high horse baseball fans who want to preserve the sanctity of the game really, really be in favor of this crackdown, because I know you guys have the utmost respect for the game, and that's the only reason you guys have been complaining, obviously.
For sure, yeah.
Right, fuck out of here.
And not even just Trevor Bauer stands, him himself as well. He's leading this crusade for years.
Yeah.
So
I love this like righteousness though. Like these baseball players feel like they've been wronged because this crackdown is happening. Like, wow, your life is so fucking tough. This is going to make it harder for me to pitch. You're damn right. Because you're using a fucking substance to cheat and make it easier. Like, what did you want? You want sympathy from fans? Like, I feel like half of them, including Trevor Bauer, like looking for, oh, poor them. They don't get to use sticky substances to doctor up a curveball. Another bonus you played yourself goes to MLB because the aforementioned suspension of 10 days is with pay. So, yeah, I'm sure people are really going to be suffering as they spend time away from the facility while they're getting paid their millions of dollars.
I didn't even know it was with pay. I was actually unaware of that part.
Yeah.
What's crazy is like just this whole thing that it happened in the middle of the season. I'm kind of like, in a way, I'm like against doing that just because these guys, I'm always against players getting injured. And I know Tyler Glasnow is like one of the league's best pitchers, and he's like, his arm is fucked for the rest of the year. Because, I mean, the guy throws 100 miles an hour. So it's kind of a catch-22 because this guy is good and effective because he gets to use these substances, and then you kind of cold turkey these guys out of using it. And he kind of spoke out against it, and I kind of had a hard time disagreeing with him. And it's just like they spring it on these players in the middle of the year and adjust to it and make them, affect the rest of their performance, whatever. But it's like once these guys start dropping off like flies, they're going to be like, fuck, we messed up. And like, especially like when you're premier ball clubs, like, I mean, dude, if like Kershaw or one of these guys gets hurt, they're going to be, a foot in their own ass, and they're going to have no one to blame but themselves. And they constantly do terrible things for their own league and for their own sport. And it's just like shitty all around, honestly.
Yeah, but Glasnow is actually one of the quotes or little statements that I was thinking of is he was saying that he's having arm troubles because he's been gripping the ball so hard because he can't use this foreign substance. Like, oh my God, boo-hoo. You've been using this cheating substance that, by the way, has been in the rule book for you righteous baseball fans that I know. Remember, we know you're going to keep your same energy because you promised us you would, basically, because you're all about the respect and sanctity of the game. So please continue to keep that same energy. You should have absolute zero sympathy for someone like Tyler Glasnow if you're following your own rules, by the way.
For sure.
So just as long as we're keeping score, Roche, you are permitted to feel bad for him, but all these people, including Trevor Bauer, sorry. If you're going based off what you said about the Stros or what about the sanctity of the game, you better not say jack shit about it.
Agreed.
Better not say shit about it. This is 100% for more offense in the league
sure.
because they're cracking down on this.
Yeah.
One too many no-hitters all of a sudden in the MLB got caught with their pants down, and they need to change something up middle of the season. Okay. This You Played Yourself section is obviously going to be dominated by the NBA. And first things first in the NBA, if we're establishing You Played Yourself, it's got to go to Ben Simmons.
Absolutely.
I mean, are you kidding me? This man, in their 7-game series that they just lost to the Atlanta Hawks, this man shot a total of 3 shots in the fourth quarter for all 7 games. So 7 games of fourth quarters, he shot 3 total shots. The nail in the coffin for Ben Simmons, of course we all know this by now, And for his time in Philly, very well may be him passing up a wide open layup or dunk at the end of the game. It led to a pass to Matisse Thybulle, who got fouled and only ended up making 1 out of 2 free throws. Also, Ben Simmons shot a whopping 34.2% from the free throw line this postseason. That was good for dead last out of 82 players. And before I get your take on this, I have a bonus you played yourself, and that goes to Joel Embiid. The supposed leader of the Sixers, after the game, after they lost their Game 7 against the Hawks, said, quote, "I don't know how to say it, but but I thought the turning point was we had an open shot, we missed, and we made 1 free throw," end quote. You don't know how to say it? That's because you shouldn't, Joel. You shouldn't be the one to say that. Leave the dragging of Ben Simmons to Twitter, to us on podcasts, but you can't be the one to do it. Do it all behind closed doors, but I'm starting to understand, like, yes, your second best player can't be scared to shoot, and that's Ben Simmons, but also your best player can't be as shitty of a leader as Joel Embiid is, and he can't disappear in some games like Joel Embiid does. This team's going to go as he does, and frankly, he hasn't gotten them anywhere significant. So it's on him too. But most of all, it's a big you played yourself to Ben Simmons. You got anything to add?
Yeah, man. I have a lot of thoughts on this. So Joel Embiid, this whole process that we've had over the last, it's been like 8 years now we're going on, or something like that, 2011, 2012. So the process fucking sucks. First of all, the process sucks ass. They haven't done shit. No, nothing's impressive. They still haven't seen a conference final since like early 2000s, I think. I heard something about. So it's like these two,
Allen Iverson ain't walking through that door.
Yeah, and these two twin towers, this like experiment is toast, man. Like, they are not. I saw some stats that Ben Simmons is like marginally better in games without Joel Embiid playing. Like, this dude's put up a 40-point triple-double in a game that Embiid wasn't in. And I heard all this shit today, and I was just like, he's just on the wrong team. Like, he clearly is gassed out of Philly. He seriously has something wrong with him. I'm pretty sure a change of scenery is what he needs. But, yeah, Joel Embiid going on his press conference for a Game 7 that the entire team blew. Let's be real. It's not Ben Simmons only. Like, there's plenty of shots Joel Embiid missed. He had 8 fucking turnovers. Like, why don't you count one of your 8 turnovers? And
a crucial
at the end of the game, which turned a 4-point lead into a 6-point lead, by the way. And I mean, like, they weren't shooting well. They didn't have Danny Green. A lot of things went into consideration here. But him saying that in a press conference for a Game 7, and he's like, he looks like such a bitch, man. Like, honestly, he's just like sulking, and like, I can't deal with that shit, dude. If I was a fan of the Sixers, I'd be so irritated that this dude is representing my, like, working collar, blue collar city of Philadelphia, and he's over here sulking, and like, not to be like, toxic masculinity, but that's a bad look, man. You need to stand up and stand behind your players and be like, look, Ben Simmons himself went on his press conference and owned up to it. He was like, I know I suck this series. I got a lot of things I need to look at. And another person who needs a huge you played yourself is Doc fucking Rivers. This guy has got to be one of the most overrated coaches of all time. I don't give a shit that he won in 2008 with a very stacked Celtics team, and in a really pretty much overall weak year. Like, the only one standing in their way was the Kobe Bryant Lakers. Like, that was the only team standing in their way. Yep. They beat them, and this guy hasn't done anything besides lose in like very embarrassing ways since he left Boston. Not to mention, do you remember that the Clippers traded a first-round pick for him? Like, I totally forgot that. But I saw it on Twitter, and I was just like a
coach trade.
Yeah, and I was like, so they traded for this guy. He never saw a Western Conference final in LA. Then he goes to Philadelphia, which they do great in the regular season, shocker, and then they flame out. This guy's responsible for multiple 3-1 leads being blown. He's responsible for huge fourth quarter collapse. Dude, they were up 26 points in the series and lost that game to the Atlanta Hawks, a 5 seed at home.
We're like, I think they're close to the youngest team in the league.
At home. How does that happen? How? And speaking of Doc Rivers, he was like talking about Ben Simmons.
Oh, wait, real quick. By the way, they were down at half, and Trae Young was shooting awful. I think he was 1 for 12 at halftime, and they still didn't have a huge lead. You knew it was doomed from that point.
He finished the game at 5 for 20. If you told me Trae Young shot 5 of 20 and the Sixers lost, like I can't make sense of that.
Yeah.
How is the other team's best player? He hit one shot, and that happened to be the dagger. I thought that was great. I thought that was very poetic. I love that Trae Young kept shooting. That's pretty awesome as well. He didn't pull a Ben Simmons. Yep. But, and Doc Rivers, he was in his presser talking about Ben Simmons, talking about, I don't know if he's a championship point guard. I don't know if you're a championship fucking caliber coach anymore, guy. Like, you got to look in the mirror at some point, and it's like, why is everyone making – they hung Ben Simmons out to dry, and if I was him, I'd be like, I'm getting paid. Fuck y'all. Y'all trade me wherever y'all want to trade me. I'm getting $40 million a year. You know, that whole thing reeks of shit, man. It was horrible. Yep. And I'm glad they lost.
They're a mess. And
I'm glad they lost.
Yeah.
Fuck the process.
I didn't mind. Yeah, the process has got to be done by now, but I just don't, tell you the truth, I don't know where you put Ben Simmons, because the NBA on TNT at halftime, I remember was doing a breakdown, and they were already calling out Ben Simmons. It was like Kenny the Jet Smith was like, the dude was passing it at half court when he should be running a break, theoretically. It's like, if he's your point guard, why would you give up the ball when you're in the middle of the court running a fast break like 3-on-2?
Right.
So it's odd. Like, I don't know how you play him. Yes, he's a matchup nightmare if you put him at point guard, but then you can't trust him late in the game because eventually you're going to use the Hack-a-Simmons strategy, and he can't make free throws.
Right.
And then he can't take a jump shot. So where do you put him? Like, do you try to turn him into a big man in a matchup night? Like, he's the pick and roll person?
I feel like he just needs to embrace this, like, Rondo type. I truly
don't know.
He just needs to embrace this, like, Rondo type. And, like, and I saw something that he shoots with his left hand, and he's a righty. And I'm like, what is happening here? Like, who is his trainer? Who is his coaches? Like, they need to really figure something out.
He needs to change up something.
Yeah, because it's not working, and I don't know what's going on over there, but it's a shit show.
All right, man. You got any you played yourselves to add to this?
I do, actually, man. The Astros, the 2017 World Series champions.
Go Stros, baby.
Go Stros.
Amen. Don't you forget it.
From the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Had a 4-game series against the White Sox, and if you're on MLB Twitter at all, this is like a very petty bunch, and they love like spamming comments with like these ridiculous memes and all this stuff. Anyway, there was tons of old receipts that got dug up. First one was, I'll go a little more older. It was Tim Anderson, star player for the White Sox. He's like, when we see Houston, we're going to be clowning all of them. We're going to be going at all their heads, blah, blah. This man was he was 1 for 16 in the series, and they got fucking swept. So suck that one. Also, the local broadcast for the White Sox, they were pre-gaming the first game of the series, and they had obviously brought a trash can out and thought they'd be so clever. I mean, first of all, this thing happened 3.5 years ago. Like, it's time to move on. And your team is allegedly good. And you played our AAA affiliate, the Sugarland Skeeters, by the way. There was 4 Sugarland Skeeters in our lineup, and y'all got swept. And the run differential was like a plus 19 for us. And we now have the best record in the AL. And you have dropped down several notches. So big, you played yourself, goes to the White Sox. And I know it doesn't make up for getting swept in the World Series in 2005, but that was pretty nice. That was pretty nice, I got to say.
Amen.
Moving on, I have another you played yourself and it involves Paul George. But all right. I'm going to turn the tables, and it's going to be on every single person who shit on Paul George in the last 2 years.
Shit.
And
had to be guilty of that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know a single person who loves the NBA who hasn't shit on Paul George in the last 2 years. I mean, it's like, especially last year in the bubble, that was hard to watch. And I know all of my homies, everyone was conning him. And I mean, I'm one of the worst.
They're calling him Pandemic P.
This guy's nickname was Pandemic P, man. And, this postseason, Paul George averaged 26.6 points per game. He had 8.9 boards and 5.3 assists. That is extremely good basketball stats. He has led,
his plus minus average is plus 4.7, which I don't know what it was in the bubble.
It's probably like minus 65. Yeah, he was horrendous last year. But he really, I got to give it up to him for kind of taking all those punches. He took a lot of shit from. He was last year's Ben Simmons. He was last year's Ben Simmons. He came back and he did his best to shut everyone up. He is a huge reason why they came back on the Mavs, and he is a huge reason they came back on the Jazz. And that, after the Clippers won Game 5, Kawhi got injured, and everyone was like, the Clippers are fucking toast. I don't know a single analyst or anybody. Everyone's like, the Clippers stand no chance. Paul George is leading this team. He's going to crumble under pressure. And the dude balled out. And arguably, he probably played his best 2 games as a Clipper, those 2 games without Kawhi.
What it do,
which kind of makes you think of what impact Kawhi has on him as a player. And it's just like, are the Clippers even – I thought they looked better without Kawhi, personally. But I know that's a fluke, which was going to lead me to my next You Played Yourself, which is the Utah Jazz for being the 1 seed, going up 2-0 against the Clippers, losing 4 straight games, including 2 without Kawhi. Like, I don't know where to start with that team. Before the playoffs even started, I was like, this has got to be one of the shittiest 1 seeds in NBA history. They looked like a fluke. I mean, no one really believed in them. I mean, people were picking the Lakers to go, to the finals. Obviously, it was before AD got hurt, but it's like people were picking the Lakers, and they were a 7 seed, meaning they were going to be playing a 1 seed at some point and taking home court from them and winning that series. And, I mean, no one disagreed. And no bigger You Played Yourselves are bigger than Quinn Snyder and Rudy Gobert. I'm going to say Quinn Snyder can go first, but let me get to Rudy Gobert. This guy has allegedly won the Defensive Player of the Year award 3 times, including this year. They were like, his metrics defensively are the best of all time, yada, yada, yada. This dude was a fucking turnstile. He was a turnstile. These Clippers were embarrassing him. This dude was getting dunked on by Terrence Mann. He was getting washed by Paul George. Reggie Jackson had this guy spinning, man. This dude was in a blender for Reggie Jackson. Yep. This guy was horrible last year. And I'm just like, these role players were just absolutely putting this guy on a poster repeatedly. And it's not entirely his fault. I don't want to not give him enough shit because he is a Defensive Player of the Year and he needs to adjust. But Clippers went small. They continuously attacked Rudy Gobert specifically by passing the ball around the perimeter, making him essentially useless. They rendered him useless. I saw so many times in Game 6 and 7, Game 5 and 6, he was just like standing in the restricted area waiting for someone to get there. And then when he blew his assignment, he would run out to the three-point line and be about 3 feet short of a wide-open three-pointer that they seemed to be hitting at a very high clip. And they shot the Jazz out of the gym on those last few games. And Donovan Mitchell deserved better. He was arguably the best player in the playoffs. Statistically, his numbers were insane. This dude was balling. And to watch your Defensive Player of the Year get put on a poster repeatedly, dude, I would be so mad. But, it's crazy. And Quinn Snyder refused to make any adjustments. They went small the first game without Kawhi. All you had to do was make an adjustment. In crunch time, when that kept happening, he had several times to take him out, go small, Jazz are allegedly a good defensive team, so it shouldn't matter. And all you really needed to do is put some hands in some faces and really stop them from kind of exposing Rudy Gobert. But he kept letting it happen. And I was like, am I fucking crazy? Am I watching the same game as his coach who is courtside? Like, is he not watching his Defensive Player of the Year, just get absolutely demolished? And not to mention, I thought about it and I was like, he could pull him. But Rudy Gobert is really soft. Like, this dude is the type of guy to take that personally and like kind of never recover. So he was kind of at a stalemate too with that. And I just thought that was a really embarrassing way to go out. Like, none of those two games without Kawhi seemed close. Like, they didn't seem close at all. And I was like,
just crazy.
And it was like watching the same play repeatedly. They were ISO, kick out, 2 passes, drain 3. And I'm like, this is repeatedly happening. How come nobody's watching this? It's crazy.
Also crazy that a Defensive Player of the Year, just like the easiest recipe ever to just render him useless.
Yeah.
Play small ball and make him defend the perimeter and you'll beat them. It's like amazing to me that no one figured that out sooner.
Didn't this happen last year?
I don't know how.
With Denver? Didn't they do the same thing?
I'm pretty sure the same thing happened, yeah. So I know Utah was out without Mike Conley for majority of that series, majority of the postseason, and he was a big part of like their bench scoring and all that stuff.
For sure.
But if you're the top seed, you got Donovan Mitchell back. You hadn't previously lost with him in the lineup. He was balling out. Then he hurt his ankle a little bit. But that's where your other players got to step up. And supposedly, if you're the best team, you should be able to adjust to that. They made no adjustments, like you said. And it's weird that the liability was your Defensive Player of the Year. And I just don't understand the stubbornness. Like, it's not the regular season. You can't just like play his way out of a fight. Right. It's like you lose 4 games, you're going home.
And they lost 2 at home. Didn't they lose 2? Was it 2 at home?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and it's like, not to mention, this was a big reason why Paul George gets to be on the giving end of the you played yourself, was because he did it against this Jazz team, this 1 seed. Everyone counted him out. Everyone said they're toast, and he was like,
especially in that game
hold
6.
That. Yeah, he was like, hold that.
Terrence Mann.
That was a good story. That was a good story. I love that.
All right, we got a few extra spicy ones coming up, and first one, I gotta give a you played yourself to. It's very important that we note this. He's a Buffalo Bills wide receiver now. I got a lot of texts about him because he used to play for the Cowboys, but you played yourself absolutely goes to Cole Beasley. Oh! Apparently, Cole would rather retire than get the COVID vaccine. So before I get, too much on my soapbox here, just a little background. Cole Beasley stated this on his Twitter. It came after the NFL released differing protocols for vaccinated versus unvaccinated players. So amongst the notable differences in the new policy, which, by the way, for right now only applies to preseason and training camp. So it's not beyond that just yet. But anyway, the new policy include for people that are vaccinated, for players that are vaccinated, they do not have to get tested daily. They will also no longer be required to wear masks at team facilities or during travel. Vaccinated players will have no travel restrictions, so they can use like sauna, steam room, weight room without limits, and they can interact with vaccinated friends and family during travel. On the other hand, unvaccinated players will be required to test for COVID-19 every day and must wear masks throughout the team facility and during travel. They will not be allowed to use the sauna, steam rooms. They are subject to weight room limits, and they may not leave the team hotel and eat in restaurants or interact with anyone outside the team traveling party during team travel. So with that little background, just quite the clear contrast that the NFL is establishing in this early part of this new season. Hey, if you're vaccinated, you have much more freedom, obviously. So Cole Beasley, in response to that on his Twitter, said the following. And I'm just going to like throw in some background music here, and then you kind of predict where this is going to go from here. Okay. You number one podcast listeners, you're smart. You'll get the gist of this. Quote, everyone, hi, I'm Cole Beasley, and I'm not vaccinated. I will be outside doing what I do. I'll be out in the public. If you're scared of me, then steer clear. Or get vaccinated. Point blank, period. I may die of COVID, but I'd rather die actually living. I'm not going to take meds for a leg that isn't broken. I'd rather take my chances with COVID and build up my immunity that way. Eat better, drink water, exercise, and do what I think is necessary to be a healthy individual. That's my choice based on my experiences and what I think is best. If I'm forced into retirement, so be it.
Great voice, man.
That's how I predict he sounds like.
Great voice.
That's what I predict he sounds like. You can find his full mumbo jumbo on his Twitter. I'm not going to go through everything with that. And before I get to a sound clip that actually sums up how I feel about Cole's quote statement, I want to seriously address some of what he said in that statement. I wanted to actually get to the bottom of this. First, Cole's mistake is in thinking that this is just about him. The vaccine isn't only about him. It's not only about any one of us. It's about people with medical conditions that don't allow them to be vaccinated. It's about children 12 years and under. I know Cole has a family, so he has full-on people in his family that are unable to get the vaccine at this point in time. It's about immune-compromised people. And whether he meant to or not, his statement proved that he thinks he's above all of that and doesn't care to help his fellow person, which isn't a good look already for the stereotypes that rich athletes and rich celebrities already have, but that's neither here nor there. What I will say is 600,000 people passed away from COVID, and they would have loved an opportunity for a vaccine. And they didn't get to just die actually living. Quote, die actually living, as he said in his statement. A lot of them, in fact, died alone in an ICU on breathing machines without their families there to even say goodbye. So I hate to speak in extremes like that, but it is literally what this is all about. So I don't feel like I'm being too tough or anything like that. It literally is life and death. And to be so dismissive about it, fine if that's your decision. To be so dismissive about it and make it all about you just really fucking irks me. Then he equates a vaccine to taking meds for a leg that isn't broken. No, Cole. This would be like theoretically having a bit of medication that would astronomically reduce your risk of ever breaking your leg. They're not the fucking same, Cole. That's what you fail to fucking get through your head. It's not the same analogy. You're not even in the ballpark here. It'd be like a vaccine is preventing something astronomically harmful to you. It's not the same as responding to a leg that isn't broken. It's like preventing the broken leg. For a violent sport that so often dismisses safety, to draw your line in the sand for a vaccine just seems hypocritical at best and totally asinine at worst. Ultimately, though, despite all that, we all know where I stand on this. Ultimately, the decision to vaccinate is an individual's. But to boast about it as if it was some informed, research-backed decision is not only incorrect, it's dangerous. Because like it or not, his status as an athlete is an example for others. People look to those people to inform their decisions. For whatever reason, right, wrong, indifferent, people do. People look up to a guy like Cole Beasley. For whatever reason, I don't fucking know. But they will. It's just a fucking odd hill to stand on. So decisively and so dismissively and so ferociously like how dare you tell me a vaccine is good for me? I've done my hypothetical Mickey Mouse research about it. And my goodness, would I just love it if Cole and some other players claiming ignorance would just fucking ask some experts. Whether you vaccinate or not, ignorance isn't a valid reason. And frankly, it's starting to be dangerous for these public figures who serve as role models to claim ignorance, where they kind of dismiss the question and say, oh, I haven't done my research yet. What the fuck are you waiting on? That's not a valid reason anymore. And Cole's statement just proves he hasn't done anywhere near the research. And by the way, if you're still on the fence about it and you don't know where to find research, it isn't like you're going to be sitting there for an hour reading research-based articles and peer-reviewed scientific journals. I can point you in the direction of some really easy-to-understand materials, and it won't take you long to go through. So when people say do your research, it's not like some time-consuming task, which, by the way, like, even if it was, it's, like I said, life or death. But anyway, it's getting exhausting for people to claim ignorance. And Cole's statement does nothing but suggest that he is ignorant to what information is actually out there.
I think the worst thing that he did was, it's not like you said, the ultimately decision to vaccinate is within the individual. I think my biggest problem with what he did was announce it to begin with. How much fucking attention do people like this need? Why make it about yourself? You're a fucking 4th tier wide receiver. Why are you trying to take headlines when you don't fucking matter? You don't matter to a team's success, really. You really don't. Like, know your place in the world. Like, and it's almost like kind of bullying for me to say this. Like, if you're not like one of the premier athletes of the sport, you don't speak for anybody. So what fucking good does your opinion do besides harmful things? And like, this kind of rhetoric is so, like, you're just empowering the dumbest of the dumb people. And I think that's really the worst part about this. It's not that he doesn't want to get vaccinated. He could easily not get vaccinated, be quiet, follow the protocols, make millions of fucking dollars catching passes in the slot, and shut the fuck up. It's not that hard, bro. Like, what the hell is your problem? I don't understand people like this. And it's like, and you know, politically, they stand in a certain spot. They always want attention. Yeah. And it's like, you just can't resist not shutting the fuck up. And that's my biggest problem with these people. Lil Wayne always says, real G's move in silence like lasagna, baby. Real G's move in silence like lasagna. This guy needs to follow some Lil Weezy, baby.
Oh, and ironic because he claims to be a rapper, by the way. Cole Beasley.
Cole Beasley, esteemed rapper.
Who? Yeah. He claimed like he was saying this and speaking up because he's at a place where he can take the fall, like other players feel the same way as him. Fucking miss me with all that. Like, if no one's going to put their name on it, I don't care to hear about it.
Yeah, you talking out your ass.
And you're right. It's like the feeling of righteousness, like, oh, who are you to tell me about not being vaccinated? Like, no, who the fuck are you to spread this message when nobody fucking asked?
Literally nobody asked.
Like, he's so quick to tell us he's good, like financially and all that. Then be good. We don't fucking need to hear from you, Cole.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
You played yourself. Absolutely goes to Cole Beasley. Anyway, speaking of, we just talked about it. I won't spend too much time on this because I'm fucking over it here. Speaking of the Utah Jazz and anti-vax, let's connect the last two. Why not, right? Fucking John Stockton appeared on an anti-vax documentary trailer. My fucking God. We're using documentary just fucking loosely. If an expert's considered John Stockton, NBA Hall of Famer, John Stockton an assist leader, like, we give a fuck what he thinks about a vaccine. Get me the fuck out of here, man. fuck all this. Like, like I'm tired of this shit. Who's asking these fucking idiots? You really, like, maybe you shouldn't be watching a documentary where, hey, they're claiming it deals with experts and they're asking fucking John Stockton for his opinion.
Hey, I think the Jazz went 0-3 after that trailer was released, just for the record. I'm not saying they're correlated, but I'm not saying they're not correlated.
Yeah, not saying it, right? Okay. My non-sports, you played yourself as I try to, reduce my blood pressure here. My non-sports, you played yourself of the episode. I think I've mentioned this before in the quarantine episodes with my wife, but I figured I'd bring it back. The you played yourself goes to people who have garages, but they have so much damn stuff that they can't park any of their cars in their garage. Like, I don't know why it bothers me, but I'll go through my neighborhood and be like, you guys just live here and you can't park in a garage. What the fuck is the point of having this? Like, sell some, like, spring already passed. Do some cleaning. We just went through a whole year where everybody's cooped up in the house. You didn't get rid of a single goddamn thing. Like, I know these are ridiculous things, but everybody has them. And mine definitely is. My wife laughs at me. Like, I'll drive by and like, look at all these cars parked on their driveways. It's just like, we live in a crazy climate in Ohio too. So these people literally have so much junk. They have to choose to scrape off their windshield with ice, with the ice scraper in the winter, instead of, like, if they were just able to park in their garage, they wouldn't have to do that. And they literally have too much damn shit in their house that they can't do it. Like, they'd rather go out and try to warm up their car and scrape off their windshields in the dead of winter.
It's pretty good.
If you got a full ass garage, like, clean that shit out. Park your car in there.
I actually have a non-sports you played yourself too, man. Yeah, I just actually thought of it just because it has to do with cars. The city of Houston is getting a you played yourself because they are doing construction. I know this is geographically based, but I feel like I need to say it. They have a very busy freeway interchange in Houston, and they decided to start it a few weeks ago to the end of the year. Did we not just get done with a stay-at-home pandemic? They couldn't have done it then? It's adding 20 minutes to every commute that I do now. And I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous, bro. And while we're on the topic, I'm going to throw Greg Abbott into the fire because he gets you played yourself for this power grid shit. I don't know if anyone outside of Texas knows what we went through during the freeze of February. But
everybody knows. Yeah, remember Ted Cruz, guys?
Yeah, man. I mean, dude, this guy, he was like, our power grid is not built to fight harsh winters. Well, as anyone who lives in Texas knows, we also have extremely harsh summers with temperatures that rise well above 100 degrees often. Last week, we got, an ERCOT notice saying that we need to conserve electricity because otherwise we're going to have rolling blackouts. And because the power grid is not sustained to take the heat wave that we were under, which... and I'm like, their excuse for a freeze was this is something that is, out of the blue and it doesn't happen all the time. Well, every fucking summer it's 105 degrees. And they had the audacity to ask you to put the AC up to 80 degrees during the summer.
What's the point of it?
Bro, 80 degrees?
Yeah,
I'm like, you can go fuck yourself, man. I was like, you're barking up the wrong tree, my guy. I'm like, get back to work and, join the U.S. power grid because I'm sick of this shit.
That's not considered AC at that point. Like, if you're putting
Turn it to 80? Are you fucking serious?
Like,
Yo, come on.
You might as well turn it off,
seriously.
Right? Is that what they're getting
That's essentially what they're saying. And they're like, otherwise we're going to have rolling blackouts.
That is bananas. Like, you're right. Okay, you had that excuse in the winter. You hit a storm in Houston. Never really winter storms don't really happen there. Yeah. But you sure as hell do have fucking.
You've been here in the summer.
That palpable.
You've been here in the summer. You know exactly how hot it is.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine not getting relief.
You crazy
from some kind of AC. Like I would argue like maybe 80 degrees AC wouldn't. I think it would make it worse.
Yeah,
actually.
And not to mention, people are still working from home. Like, You're asking them to work at home. And then meanwhile, downtown Houston is fully powered and all these buildings are fully powered and they're just like willy-nilly. I'm like, no, you're barking up the wrong tree, bro.
Yeah. Oh, wait. You didn't think we'd skip them, did you? You did not think we'd skip them, did you, you number one podcast listeners? Almost got you again, baby. You did not. Come on, you know me better than that. We had to save the best for last, baby. Brooklyn Villains, stand up.
You really thought we were going to skip this?
You fucking played yourself.
You thought we were going to skip this.
Let's fucking go. Brooklyn Villains going to Cancun, baby.
Joining LeBron in Cancun.
They're vacationing early this year.
I know.
Let's go.
Still with 0 rings.
Kyrie Flat Earth Irvin. Remember when you said you finally had someone on your bench you could turn to for a shot, huh? From fucking where? Cancun, Mexico? That's what I fucking thought, Kyrie. That's what I fucking thought. Oh, Kyrie, didn't you also say when you guys were looking for a coach, you might not even need a coach with your roster, right? Maybe you could have used the coach that would have had more players ready to help out when you and your other unfair teammate decided to go down with the injury. That could have helped maybe. But you mean? Oh wait, but you didn't need a coach, right?
You mean that same coach who played like KD for like 59 minutes a game and Harden for 50 minutes
didn't get him to
in
rest.
an overtime game, on a bum hamstring? That guy?
Yeah.
Weird.
That guy, the guy who got so many players to play on discount yet couldn't trust a single one of them to help out. So this Brooklyn Villains team really packed it in all year. They added players who quit on their previous teams and like fucking miss me if you don't think that happened. Blake Griffin didn't dunk for 2 years and then turned into LA Clippers Blake Griffin for Brooklyn. And then they had a good old Jim Harden, right? He was looking a little doughy in Houston, and all of a sudden he's fit fam once he gets to Brooklyn, right? And starts getting things right? And then also you had Kyrie, who rightfully so took time for his mental health, but literally just without notice took time away from the team and just figured, probably thinking internally like he can do this because they'll be fine come playoffs, right? No, they weren't because, like I said, they're not fucking in the playoffs anymore. Oh, and then on top of it all, the fucking shit cherry on top, right? Everyone wants to tell us how we should act towards Kevin Durant, his amazing playoff performance, right? They tell me, you can't hate on that historic performance by Kevin Durant. He put the team on his back. He was a big shoe on the line away from sending his team to the Eastern Conference Finals. Oh, I can't? Just listen to me do it. Watch me. Right now. We'll sound the petty alert. Put it on, baby.
Petty alert. Petty alert.
Watch me do it right now.
Alert.
Get fucking smaller feet, King Snake Kevin Durant. What do I care? What do I care? Wait, you want to tell me how I need to act against Kevin Durant now? You want to tell me how to be a fan now? No. You know what you signed up for. This is on brand. This is petty alert. It doesn't matter how well he performed.
Speaking of the smaller feet, he wears an 18, right? And his shoe is a 17. He's on the record to say I like bigger shoes. So honestly, he fucking played himself. He wears a shoe that doesn't fit him. He's like, they don't slide off as easily. I'm like, oh, cool, go fuck yourself. You still lost, bro.
You fucking lost. Oh, this was from Twitter handle @StatMuseBurner. StatMuseBurner said, Kevin Durant hasn't won a playoff series without 3 All-NBA players next to him since 2016. The last series in 2016, he blew a 3-1 lead on 39.5% field goal percentage and 26.9% from the three-point line in his final 3 closeout games. So you absolutely hate to see it. Why do I need to praise Kevin Durant? He can't win unless he's got all-stars around him, clearly. What, you want me to give him a pass because he played well while his team left the playoffs early? Let me ask you this. Are y'all affording LeBron James that same benefit? No? Then fuck out of here. All of a sudden, a fan is supposed to forget about King Snake doing real snaky things. What right does anyone have to tell me I shouldn't still hate on him? It's like we reward good playoff performances in players when they don't make it far. Like, all praise to Luka and all these people that are out and not winning. All praise to Kevin Durant, man. What a performance. He almost got him there. He really almost did it. Yet when a player makes it far and loses in the finals, cough, LeBron, cough. That's a stain on his resume and his legacy, right? Like, when you make it a certain distance, that's, oh, no, you made it too far, though, where we got to penalize you. But if you get knocked out in the semis and ball out with Joe Schmoes on your team and not able to make them better somehow, no, then we'll forgive you. And I'm supposed to all of a sudden be a huge KD fan because of how well he played.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, the Brooklyn Villains winning a title wouldn't have counted. But now it isn't even allegedly happening, and you absolutely love to see it. Let me reiterate this one more time. Don't anybody fucking tell me that I need to praise Kevin Durant. Where's he sitting right now? Fucking home like the rest of us. He ain't putting up 40 points tonight, is he? Because he's out of the damn playoffs. Putting up the same amount of points as I am from behind this mic. So, miss me with all that. King Snake lives on. Brooklyn Villains live on. That energy ain't changing one bit.
That was beautiful, man. That was really beautiful. And like, it's just like nonstop. It's like we didn't get to talk about LeBron. Our last episode was called LeBron Needs Help, and he didn't get it. Fine, he's eliminated. Sure.
Yeah.
Dame, legendary performance, didn't make it out the round against a Denver team without Jamal Murray. You played yourself, Dame. Jokic won the MVP, got fucking swept in the semifinals. You played yourself, Nikola. MVP.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, if LeBron won MVP and got swept out of the semifinals, we would still be hearing about it next season.
Be dragging him.
Next season. I don't give a shit, bro. Nobody wants to keep the same energy with these burgeoning stars in the NBA, the future of the NBA. I don't know what it is about LeBron that people hate so much, but it's incredible. And, while we're on the Brooklyn Villains, I need to add James Harden to this list. I don't think you talked nearly enough about him. He, as a Houstonian...
Jim Harden himself.
Jim Harden. And it was definitely Jim Harden, due to his injury because he couldn't show up for his team, in the semifinals or whatever it is. Another playoff collapse and on his resume, by the way. We saw plenty of those in Houston.
Yep.
Abysmal three-point shooting. He was 2 of 12 in game 7. That was fucking terrible. And one of the ones that he made it, he banked it. Pretty sure banks are closed on Saturday nights at 10. I don't know. But I heard something on the radio, actually. And, as a native Houstonian, the Jim Harden stuff really bothers me because, I'm all for player control and players taking control of their, careers and whatever. And he did what he needed to do. He wanted to leave Houston. And I agree. The team was shit. He wasn't going to win anything this year. Quitting mid-season, I've seen better days. Most of the star players who have done stuff like this really haven't thrown a fucking tantrum mid-season, forced their way out of town, like you said, showing up out of shape, really mailed it in. He did all that. He put on a show for everybody, got traded to an unbelievable team. Why the Rockets agreed to do that, I'll never know. I still don't know. But I heard something on the radio that I thought was beautiful. Regardless of who wins the title with the 4 winning teams, a former Houston Rocket that played with James Harden is going to win the championship this year.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I'm going to go from who I least want to win a ring to who I most want to win a ring. And I'll just list them off. The Los Angeles Clippers have Pat Beverly, played with James Harden in Houston. The next one, Clint Capella, Atlanta Hawks center. He's in the conference finals. Next one, PJ Tucker, sneakerhead god, Milwaukee Bucks. And lastly but not least, the point god, Chris Paul on the Suns. Either way, a former teammate of James Harden is going to win a title before him. Not only that, a former teammate of James Harden that he wanted the fuck off the Houston Rockets is going to win a title before him. You fucking hate to see it, James.
Congratulations.
That one stinks.
Oh, Jimbo. Oh, Jimbo, you played yourself.
He sure did. So, cheers, brother.
That was cheers, man. That was a jam-packed you played
That was
yourself.
good.
I hope you number one podcast listener appreciated that. We just filled in almost our entire episode with you played yourselves. It's what dreams are made of right there. And not what dreams are made of for the scratchiness of my throat currently. But on that note, let's hit who you got and what you feeling. And last episode, you and I talked about what team Julio Jones would end up on, and you put it out in the universe, and it happened. Julio wound up on the Titans. They traded a second-round pick and some other draft capital, and Julio is a Tennessee Titan. He gets added to quite the arsenal of skill players. Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, and Julio Jones are quite the weapons for Ryan Tannehill. It'd be exciting to see. You made it happen, man, and kudos to you. Julio and A.J. Brown should be thanking you.
Is it a kudos or you played yourself? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how much I like the Texans this year.
And then we talked about our favorites in the playoffs. Yet another one where you hit it. I did not. I was still sticking with, LNH and thinking LeBron had a chance or someone would help him out, and that did not happen. And then I went with the villains out of the East, even though it wouldn't have counted. But I'll happily be wrong about that. You said that you thought the Bucks would win over the villains, and that was kudos to you. That was even before some of the injuries, definitely before the Kyrie injury.
Yeah,
So
I think that helped me out a little bit.
Predicted that. Yes, definitely did. The other thing you noted was the Clippers to the finals. We'll see if you change your mind on that or not. But with them not having Kawhi anymore, the Clippers are in the Western Conference Finals. But we'll see if you still feel the same way into the NBA Finals. So kudos to you on both of those. Without further ado, let's move into this week. And I wanted to talk a little bit with you about the NBA head coaching vacancies. So, quietly, the NBA had like a big news day randomly, all of a sudden when Boston traded away Kemba Walker to the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder are going to work with Kemba to move him elsewhere, and the Celtics got like Al Horford in return for whatever reason they wanted him. I don't know, but the major thing the Thunder wanted was their first round pick for the Celtics. So the Thunder added yet another pick. I think they have like 7 picks in the next 3 years or something crazy, like 7 first round picks in the next 3 years, something crazy like that. Anyway, the other bit of information was all the head coaching vacancies. So I wanted to go over the 7 head coaching vacancies and get your take on which vacancy you like the most. So Boston, Orlando, New Orleans, Dallas, Washington, Indiana, and Portland are all looking for new head coaches. So I wanted to get what your best head coaching vacancy was. I'll go first, but while you think about your answer, I'm going to go with Portland personally. I was between Dallas and Portland, Dallas being solely because of Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Be quite the opportunity to be able to coach a player like him. And presumably Dallas is going to be remaking that team for Luka's liking if they're smart. So it'd be an opportunity for that. But I went with Portland just because Dame is a beast, and I just think they're that little hump of having a better coach to make it a little further, and maybe one more piece away, like a big man piece away. But I wanted to note a couple things after I picked that. 3 out of 4 of the coaches left in the NBA playoffs are African Americans. The NBA is a majority black, and only 7 out of 30 coaches in the league are black overall. The NBA is doing much better than some other sports, so at least kudos to them. But they definitely need more representation. And the other thing is, it is long past time for there to be women head coaches in the NBA. I know the one that always gets floated around is Becky Hammon. She's a candidate for this Portland job, and I think she's due to have a job and would be these minority coaches, including women, including black coaches. they need the same fair shot that white coaches are getting time and time again.
Sure.
And if they don't cut it, like, fire them all the same. But there needs to be better representation in the front office while we're at it too. You just had James Jones, a former player, win Executive of the Year for his moves with Phoenix, and rightfully so. You're seeing tons of examples.
Yeah.
The 3 out of 4 coaches, and then James Jones right here, right in front of your face. There needs to be more representation. So that's just my plug for that. But I'll let you answer what your favorite or best NBA head coaching vacancy is.
Yeah, I mean, before that, to kind of add on to what you said, it's cool that, like, Becky Hammon is a finalist for Portland. She learned under Popovich. I don't know who else is a fucking better example of, like, extremely well-coached teams. Popovich has done an unbelievable job, has won 5 titles over and it wasn't like some kind of short dynasty. It was like sustained success over 20 years. Yep. You as a fan of the Spurs, like, you have to love the guy, because this guy has made your team a contender forever, like forever. And it wasn't until, like, all your stars left till you started to suck. But, like, and I saw something about, like, the 2 coaches in the Western Conference Finals are 2 coaches that got constantly passed over, Monty Williams and Ty Lue. And, we know better than anyone, Ty Lue is a great coach, man. I know he had LeBron for a lot of the games, but I'm sure he learned a lot coaching these teams, because some of those teams that LeBron took to the finals were shit. And he was coaching the rest of these guys and making sure they're on the same page. And he's doing it. Look what he did with the number 1 seed Jazz. That you can't tell me that was all Paul George. This guy decided to go small, went small, and they're in the conference finals, the first conference finals ever for the Clippers.
100%.
Doc Rivers couldn't do it.
And then you talk about trusting your bench, something the Villains didn't do. Ty Lue,
constantly.
All these players were ready. They got, like, Luke Kennard had a good game, and you had Terrence Mann drop 39.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't do that unless you feel trusted by your coach.
Yeah, he did it without Kawhi. Doc Rivers couldn't do it with CP3, Lob City. He couldn't do anything. It's crazy. It's just like these guys' track record speaks for themselves. And I think you said 7 out of 30 coaches were African American, and 3 of them are in the conference finals. That's a pretty awesome stat.
Yep.
As far as what I think is the best vacancy, since you said Portland, which I pretty much agree with, it's kind of hard to pass up wanting to coach Dame, and they're just a few pieces away. That team is pretty solid. I'm going to go with the Pelicans, given the fact that Zion wants to stay.
Wow,
I know there was a report that Zion wants out, which I'm not surprised. I would too. I wouldn't want to play in New Orleans. That is a football town, 100%. All they love in New Orleans is Mardi Gras, the Saints, and LSU. That's pretty much all they give a shit about there. So I personally would not want to play basketball in that town. That's where Monty Williams came from. It's just like that. I think on paper that roster is pretty stacked. They have pretty good defense. They have like a young star. They have some good pieces. Ingram and Zion are a very formidable duo. Zion's putting up crazy stats. I think they're also like a point guard away from being really good. So I would say that. Boston, probably good, but who gives a shit about Boston? The rest of them kind of stink. I wouldn't want to coach in Orlando or Washington or Indiana. All those teams are just going to be like either mediocre to bottom feeding. And what was the last one? Dallas. I think Dallas is pretty good. And Rick Carlisle he was the coach there for like 10 years without winning a playoff series. So your leash is going to be long. So that is a good choice. Granted, Luka stays and doesn't want out like all those reports. But yeah, I'm going to go with New Orleans on that one.
That'd be the key. All right, I like it. All right, I teased this just a second ago. NBA playoffs. I just wanted to set this up a little since we skipped Fame or Nah. In the East, it is the number 3 seed Milwaukee Bucks versus the number 5 seed Atlanta Hawks. They both won Game 7s on the road to make the Eastern Conference Finals. As far as like health and all that goes, they seem knock on wood for their sake. they're not suffering from anything significant like is happening in the West. In the West, the number 2 seed Phoenix Suns are battling the number 4 seed LA Clippers that we've talked about both. As far as injuries go, Kawhi is looking like he's going to be out. That fear is that he has an ACL injury, but they've been kind of hush-hush about that. And then CP3, out of nowhere, entered like COVID protocol after the Suns were off I think it was nearly a week after they swept their Western Conference semis. They were waiting on their opponent, and all of a sudden news broke that CP3 was going to be in COVID protocol. So we'll see what happens with him and his availability. But also worth noting, none of the 4 remaining teams have won a title since the NBA-ABA merger in 1976, 1977. So whoever wins the finals their franchise is going to have either their very first one or their first in a very long time.
Which is awesome.
Who you got? Who's making the finals?
So initially I had picked the Clippers to win the West, which if Kawhi was healthy, I would probably give it to them at this point. And they're kind of evenly matched just considering they're both missing their best player pretty much right now. I know Devin Booker's scoring at an insane clip, but that team goes with CP3 is what I would have said before I saw Game 1. Devin Booker went crazy. He had an amazing Game 1. I definitely see the Suns winning that series. Even if Kawhi comes back, which I don't think he's going to come back. They're a little too hush-hush about it, which makes me think it's a serious injury, at least maybe not a tear, but at worst a sprain, something like that. And, something that he can't play on. And if you know Kawhi's history, he's not going to come back and play on that. So I'll take the Suns coming out of the West. And I think the Hawks Cinderella story ends in the conference finals. I think they took advantage of 2 lesser teams in terms of the Sixers' chemistry was just off, and it took them all 7 games, and they outplayed them pretty much every game. Milwaukee is really healthy, and I think that's pretty much the reason why they beat the Nets. And I think it'll be one of those things where the Hawks win Game 1 and lose the next 4, just because Milwaukee's kind of beat down from that series. But I think Giannis goes to the finals. I'm going to give him that, and he finally sheds these heavy chains he's been wearing. All this criticism he's been kind of taking.
Yeah, I have the same picks. I feel like those are going to be the popular picks, obviously, because of the Clippers situation. I think they probably would have been favored if Kawhi was healthy. I really do think that.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned both teams having key people out, but I would think Chris Paul would be back sooner than perhaps Kawhi won't be back at all.
Right.
And then the Hawks, like you said, they're Cinderella story, but the Bucks are definitely favored. And we talked about it in our last episode. Whoever won that Bucks versus Villains series was going to be favored, and I don't see it any other way.
Right.
It would truly be an improbable run if the Hawks made the finals, so it'd be crazy to see. All right, man. What you been feeling lately?
What I've been feeling. Actually, let me. I'll say what I've been feeling by saying what I have not been feeling. I played basketball a couple weeks ago, and I got injured. Being in my 30s, you don't really feel the weight of an injury anymore. But I still play basketball pretty regularly, and a guy had gone for a rebound and kind of compressed my spine, and so I was pretty hurt, man. It was weird. So I'm gonna say I'm feeling a lot better, but it's because I was not feeling getting injured on my back. That shit was trash. It finally hit me that I was kind of washed. I bounced back pretty quick. But other than that, and my other not feeling was, kind of, I talked about it before, is I know I talked about it, I was excited about the summer and all this stuff, but we had a week where it was 85 degrees and sunny, and then the next week we had a heat wave. So it was like 105 to 109. And we never really had a buffer that led up to it. It just jumped like 25 degrees. So I wasn't feeling the summer heat. Now that it's kind of leveled off a little bit, I'm definitely back to feeling the summer heat again. And I'm mainly feeling...
He's back.
and mainly I'm feeling, you know, concerts being announced, man. I've noticed a lot of bands that I like announcing tours for the fall, and I mean, nothing better than live music for me. I love going to live music. You know how I go.
He's definitely back.
Yeah. And so, you know, we're going to be at the shows. We're going to be at the venues, like drinking beers with the boys, you know, watching some good music. So feeling that for sure.
I love it. As for what I'm feeling, I was on my guy Grant's podcast. His podcast is called Grant Rants. He asked me to be on there to talk positivity, especially in the face of this crazy pandemic year. So feeling getting to talk about that. It was kind of an opportunity to talk a little life philosophy for myself, and go check it out. Go search Grant Rants anywhere you listen to podcasts, and go check out my dude. He's been a guest host actually very recently, I think 2 episodes ago, so you'll recognize his voice. But it was cool getting to talk about that, and I was very flattered he trusted me with that subject. So it's nice to be known to be a positive person. So that was kind of a cool episode to be part of, and happy with how it turned out. So go check it out. It's a quick listen too, so it shouldn't be too long for your number one podcast listening ears.
The disclaimer there is you're positive outside of sports. It must be said on this sports
very
podcast
important.
Before someone rolls their eyes at you after listening to this shit.
100%. We actually mention it on the podcast. It's like, it's totally different. And I feel like I mentioned it on here. I'm very different outside of sports, but that leads right into my too much sense. So after plugging my guest spot on Grant Rants, I thought I'd add my philosophy on positivity and for my too much sense for this episode. So if you're in a place to be able to, in a world full of negativity, in a world where it's much easier to be negative, dare to do what's difficult. Add some positivity in your life and someone else's. It's harder to do in the face of relentless, outnumbering negativity, but it makes it all the more rewarding when you can help someone with your positive energy. So I personally challenge myself to bring something different to the table. So I look at it as like, hey, we already have the negative side of things. I might as well add something that isn't already present and add something new to the table, and that's positivity. So having that energy for someone, I think, is very rewarding and good for your own psyche. But if you're not in the headspace to be able to do that, that's okay. There will be a time you will be, and I encourage you to step up when that time comes. But it's absolutely okay not to feel that way at all times. I'm not that way all the time, but if you're in a headspace where you can be, I think it makes a huge difference. And that's my too much sense for this episode.
Excellent. It's really all about the effort, man. It's just like if you put in the effort and kind of make that push to put a little positivity out there, it changes your day to day for a lot of things. So I like that a lot.
For sure. Amen. Well, Rosh, thanks for joining me on this You Played Yourself filled edition of the number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee. You're the right person for the job.
Thank you.
You motivated a lot of these subjects, so we had to have you on here.
I love being on here.
Spicy energy.
Yeah, it's almost like I put in a special request to be on here, and I was listened to immediately. So respect, appreciate that. Let's get it, baby.
All right, you number one podcast listeners, you know the drill. Go like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, and we will talk to you on the next episode.
Yes, sir.